Andy Fawkes is Managing Director of Masteroast, the largest independently owned coffee roaster and packer in the country that's celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. It roasts over 4,000 tonnes of beans a year for 600 customers. Andy, 40 years you've been roasting coffee. 40 years.
Not personally. You can tell, obviously, by my youth. Masteroast has been roasting coffee for 40 years now and remains unique within the roasting trade in the UK as completely dedicated to private label.
Is roasting an art, a craft, or a science?
I would say a little bit of each of those, but predominantly a science. Or science can be used to take over where the art finishes. When we would develop a blend, we would still personally use a roaster to look at the development of the bean, listen to it, and then we'd cup the different profiles. And once we decided which one was best, we could then use science so that each time we roasted it, there's a little computer in the background that is helping us follow the pathway to developing that coffee to that perfect flavour.
Southern Italian espresso is largely made from robusta, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. But is there such a thing as an Italian style?
For me, Italian style is low acidity, mellow to full-bodied, rounded cup brewed through an espresso machine. And in the early years, in the 90s, when we had a reinvention of the espresso boom in the UK, because obviously it was here in the 60s as well, we would even, with our customers' requirements, brand our coffees a Milano, which would be a slightly lighter roast, a bit more fruitier, to represent northern Italian style coffee. And everything south was called Napoli, and that was a more robusta-based, higher roasted coffee, which is what you would find in Italy. From a cupper's point of view, the best quality of a robusta is neutrality.
Okay.
Which is a little bit of a damning statement.
It doesn't sound terribly exciting.
No, but that is it. So what you're trying to do is avoid taints or off tastes or whatever. But there's a real flavour difference in some of the robustas. You know, we have a lot of African robustas, Ugandans, etc., are quite nutty. We have creamy Indian robustas. Vietnam is doing a better job now. Initially started to produce huge quantities of robusta, mainly taken up by the soluble manufacturers, but now it's producing washed, polished, neutral robustas that can be used in blends, etc. So the common denominator in a lot of Italian espresso blending is low acidity. So we're talking Brazils, we're talking Africans, mochas particularly from Ethiopia.
Is that because the method, the mocha or the espresso, emphasises the acidic side of the production, so therefore you want to have a more neutral?
Absolutely. Bang on. That's exactly what it's about. So there's some very fine Central American single origin coffees. One of my favourites, Kenya AA, beautifully citric, almost blackcurranty, but stick it through an espresso machine and it's like licking a 9-volt battery. It's just going to be too much. Yeah. So that balance, that deep-bodied balance, and that's what for me, the Italians have always understood and always been good at, and that was sometimes lost in this market, that a little bit of Robusta can help achieve that deep bass note in a blend. I've been to several Italian roasters, and it's that they would roast their Arabicas on a different profile and blend those fresher to a batch of Robusta that they would have roasted on a slower profile and then stored and allowed to rest a little bit, and they will post-blend so that they've arguably taken each coffee to the maximum of its capability and then blend them afterwards.
In Italy, Yeah, there is a sort of great division between the way in which coffee is consumed at home, the rituals of preparation, the sitting down in the kitchen, and the way you actually drink it in public, which is where you just go up to the bar and you punctuate your day by having a short, sharp series of coffees.
The fundamental difference is that in Italy, a coffee is an essential of day-to-day life, whereas we still see it very much as a luxury product, a luxury premium product in the UK market, because we still see those high street chains, it's still going out for a treat because it's something that you wouldn't have at home.
Are there any other sort of things, developments you can see in the pipeline?
The phenomena that you can't ignore of capsules. In many ways, that has enabled domestic users to be able to produce a consistent and reasonably true espresso with a very low-priced piece of equipment, although they're going to pay for it in the individual portion. And you've seen the larger Italian brands have embraced that anyway. They have their own capsule agenda, but I think that will accelerate the consumption of espresso in the home. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, that's accelerated. Our own production of capsules in the UK is almost quadrupled.
You do capsules, do you?
So we make Nespresso compatible aluminium capsules, and the market for those in the UK is quadrupled in 2 years. As a raw coffee, as long as it's kept well, it can stay relatively inert for some time. As soon as you roast it, it starts to oxygenate and go stale. So the best thing, roast it fresh for the local consumer. That trend was only ever broken by the Italians because the Italianness of their coffee was exportable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder whether Italian coffee benefits from the fact that, actually from the profile of other Italian produce, such as cars, fashion, architecture, food, and so on. There is a sort of, if you're aspirational and you want something that's really nice, but go to Italy.
I went on an espresso cup tasting course in Italy in probably the early noughties, and it opened my eyes, that having been slightly preconditioned to the Arabica good Robusta man, to see the way that they would cup the coffees and understand the essence of brewing.
What is your tip? What is your tip for a superior cup of coffee?
I would re-embrace the filter machine.
Oh.
Because I invariably, we serve filter coffee, drip brew, the old-fashioned cone with the paper cone and the ground coffee. I think that the leap towards cafetiere can sometimes can be a little bit intermittent. Sometimes it can taste a bit earthy.
What about the old mocha?
Yeah, mocha, fantastic, yeah. I still think the Brits like a longer cup of coffee.
Okay. So it's the filter for you?
It's the filter for me. At home.
At home,
yeah.
Of course.